Why in the world can we not just pull a ProRes RAW clip directly into Resolve? In this video, I'm going to tell you why, and then I'm going to show you what we can do about it. The workaround, the solution that I've figured out for quickly and consistently getting ProRes RAW assets translated into something that Resolve can understand without losing any quality so that we can work on them in the color page as quickly as possible. And then from there, I'm going to show you how I actually do work with these assets in the color page to get the best possible results. Okay, let's dive in and let's start by diagnosing the problem that we're dealing with here. So here's the problem. If I look inside of Resolve and I go to my media page and I look in my media browser in the upper left-hand corner here, I've got these two ProRes RAW assets that actually do show up. It's not like they're totally invisible to Resolve, but if I grab them and drop them in, you'll notice I'm only getting the audio from them. I'm not getting any picture at all. The first time this happened to me, I thought, oh, for sure this is some kind of bug that'll be fixed if I grab the latest version of Resolve, or I'm doing something dumb and I need to figure out what I'm missing in order to get these ProRes RAW assets pulled in. Turns out I wasn't missing anything. There wasn't a software update that was going to fix my problem. This is a hard limitation baked into Resolve as of this video that you cannot pull ProRes RAW directly into the software. And the reason? It's pretty stupid. It comes down to some kind of standoff or misunderstanding or disagreement between Apple, who makes the ProRes RAW standard, and Blackmagic Design, who make DaVinci Resolve. I don't know all the details there, but from my research, it does not sound like something that's likely to change in the near future. So we need a workaround. We need a solution. We need some kind of intermediary that's going to take us from ProRes RAW to an equivalent format that has all the same quality that Resolve can understand. Now, there are many solutions out there that are aimed at this task of dealing with ProRes RAW and teeing it up so that you can load it into software like Resolve. But the one that I've landed on after doing the research is called PlayPro Studio. It's made by a company called Assimilate, who actually make their own professional color grading software called Scratch. We're going to see what the benefits of this software are, but it's far and away the best solution that I've found for quickly, reliably getting that full quality asset translated into something Resolve can understand so that we can get to the business of color grading. And as I tap over here into PlayPro Studio, I just want to point out, I'm not affiliated officially with Assimilate. This is not a sponsored video. I'm not telling you to use this software for any other reason than it's what I found to be the very best solution based on all of my research. Now, this software does carry a cost. It has a $59 a month subscription fee. You can turn it on and off at any point. So if you're not doing work with ProRes RAW all the time, you can just turn on a month subscription for months where you need to do these conversions. Or if you are doing it all the time, frankly, it's worth it for the peace of mind. Because here's what's interesting about PlayPro Studio, one of a couple things. PlayPro Studio is the only software for transcoding or converting or dealing with ProRes RAW that I'm aware of that uses Apple's official SDK, their software development kit. That same thing that we wish they would give to Blackmagic Design so that we could do this directly within Resolve, but that they haven't given to Blackmagic Design. So PlayPro Studio understands these files perfectly well, and I have full confidence because it's using that official SDK that the translation is going to be made correctly. And I don't need to worry about something getting lost or bumping or changing when I do this transcode from ProRes RAW into the format we're going to be using, which is called Cinema DNG. So that's the biggest thing for me is I need the peace of mind that if I'm going to be doing effectively a transcode, I want to make sure it's full quality and that nothing is changing that I won't even be able to see because I couldn't look at the original asset in the first place. I want to make sure that this is a reliable pro level solution for the need that I have because this is going to dictate the highest quality that I can ever get to based on the highest quality that I'm kind of starting from with the footage. All right. So here in PlayPro Studio, and since we're in a new piece of software, I'll just observe it can be overwhelming to load new software, to learn new software. We don't really need to learn new software today. We need to learn a few basic steps within this piece of software to do what we got to do. It's not like you need to become fluent or master inside of PlayPro Studio here. I definitely have not become fluent or mastered this software. I know how to do the exact things that I need to know how to do so that I can go back to doing my job inside of Resolve. So don't get overwhelmed. I'm going to walk you through the exact steps that you need to do right now to use this software for this particular application. What we're going to do is go to our Import Clips button, and I'm going to navigate to my ProRes RAW assets. I'm going to hold down Shift to select this second one and hit Open. When I do that, these clips are going to be kind of tethered to my cursor. And if I click anywhere on this big black gray box here, it's going to set them down here within the project. And then from this point forward, things are very simple. All we need to tell PlayPro Studio to do is convert these ProRes RAW files into the Cinema DNG format, which is a really good format for maintaining the full quality of the ProRes RAW, but something that Resolve can actually understand and import into its ecosystem. So let's go to this render button right here. And for our source media, timeline is fine. That's what we want. But for our output, we're going to change this. We're going to say ProRes RAW to Cinema DNG. And that actually simplifies a lot of the options that we were looking at a moment ago. And the ones that remain can largely be left as is. The ones we want to adjust are actually down here. I'm going to say I would like to use the source name, and I'm going to point these renders to a dedicated folder. So I've got this master folder for grading ProRes RAW, and I've created a Cinema DNG folder within, and I'm going to say select here. That's going to point files which have the exact same names as the originals to a dedicated folder called Cinema DNG. Makes it really easy to correlate if at any point I need to between the transcoded and the original files, and I'm going to end up with two sets, one original ProRes RAW, one transcoded Cinema DNG, that all have matching file names. Okay, let's hit select here, and everything else is good to go. I'm going to press OK, and I'm going to confirm with yes. Here's another thing that I like about Play Pro Studio. You can see from the speeds that I'm getting that this is GPU accelerated. That's not going to be the case with all solutions for transcoding Cinema DNG to, or rather for transcoding ProRes RAW into Cinema DNG. So that's another thing that I really like about this solution. And the other thing that I'll mention before we tap back over to Resolve is that it is going to convey all metadata from the original ProRes RAW in the Cinema DNG. That's important to me because if we think about what we're really trying to do here, I'm trying to, in as short a period of time as possible, basically pretend that there is no problem with ProRes RAW, to get into another format that has all the same quality, all the same metadata, all the same good bits and bytes as the original that Resolve can understand, and then never have to think about this ProRes RAW nonsense for the rest of the project. That's kind of my goal here at this stage. So knowing that all that metadata is going to be conveyed, paired with the confidence that the official SDK is going to be used and the conversion is going to be done correctly, allows me to effectively forget about this ProRes RAW business from this point forward. Okay. All right. So we've got this render. That's all done. We're going to go back over to Resolve now. And let's see what we can do with these Cinema DNG assets. So these are going to be folders that I can pull in. Let's get rid of these ProRes RAWs. These aren't going to be useful for us. I'm going to drag and select these and drop them into my project. And let's take a look here. Hey, we got picture. We're converted. We can see something now. That's moving in the right direction, right? But we still got some more work to do because neither of these look great. In particular, this second clip, I got these all kind of nuclear highlights. It's feeling pretty flat. Like there's still quite a bit of work needed to get this to a great looking image. So we're now going to take a look at how I manage, how I deal with these Cinema DNG assets within Resolve to get the very best out of them. So let's go to the edit page. I'm going to drag these assets into the edit page, into my timeline. And we're now going to go to the color page. And what I want to do now is I'm going to go to my project settings. I'm doing that by hitting Shift 9. You can also hit this gear icon at the lower right or go to your file menu and click project settings. And I want to look at my Cinema DNG RAW profile. Now, something I just want to quickly call out since we're here, a lot of us get confused by what this RAW profile dropdown means. This does not mean which RAW profile would you like to use for this project. This means for any of these RAW profiles, how would you like to unpack? How would you like to decode into your node tree your original RAW asset? Okay, so it's not an either or thing. You could go through and fill all of these out and be fully customized for the way that you decode your Airy, your Blackmagic RAW, your Red, your Cinema DNG, whatever the case may be. Okay, but back to the point here, if we click Cinema DNG, I don't want to decode using camera metadata. I know better. I want to select project here, which basically means I'll drive. I got this. I'm going to specify how to unpack this. So we're going to say project. And the two important parameters that are going to be exposed to us are color space and gamma. We're going to select P3D60 for color space. We're going to select linear for our gamma. I prefer to leave highlight recovery turned off. I'm going to tell you this, it doesn't always work to have it on or always work to have it off. It can cause problems when it's turned on. You can need extra highlight recovery when it's turned off. But what I recommend is leaving it off, waiting for a scenario where you've got a weird feeling highlight, and then in your camera raw controls in your clip, go into your highlight recovery and turn it on and see if it doesn't improve things. That's the way that I would set that up, okay? The rest of the stuff is all good to go. I'm gonna hit save. Now let's watch what happens to the image when I do. Okay, well, we got some more contrast here, probably too much contrast, and those highlights are feeling just as clipped, maybe even more clipped than they were a moment ago. So we got some more work to do still. We're not there yet, but we're making progress. We've now teed up this image into a state that we can color manage. And that's what we're going to do next. We're going to set up our color management for this image so that we can now start to move away from what I call a camera-centric frame of mind, which is very much what we've been in for the duration of this video. We're thinking about this camera, or at least about the format that the camera recorded in, when by the time we're putting hands on the wheels and color grading, we want to be thinking about the picture. We want to be thinking about the image. We want to be in an image-centric mode and responding to what we see, not thinking about our rules for how we grade red or how we grade Blackmagic or how we grade Airy. Does that make sense? We want to move into this image-centric state before we begin grading, and that's what we're going to start to do right now. So here's how I like to color manage my material here inside of Resolve. We are going to color manage by camera using Resolve's group function. So I'm going to select both of these thumbnails. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say that I want to add into a new group. We're going to call this group Cinema DNG. Okay. When I do that, I'm going to have 4 dots up here at the top of my node graph, and I'm interested in the leftmost dot, what's called the group pre-clip, because that's where I can set up my input transform to get into my working space. If all this color management stuff is like brand new to you, I'm going too fast, I'm skipping over details that you're like, wait, how does that work? We've got lots of great videos here on the channel to get you up to speed on color management. I'm going to keep going at a pretty good pace here today, but drop a question in the comments if you're not sure about how something works, or go check out some of the other videos here on the channel if you need to get some more of these basics in place to make sense of what we're talking about here today. What we're going to do here at the group pre-clip level is we're going to find a color space transform in our effects, like so, and we are going to do a translation from P3D60. Remember, that's what we unpacked into in our project settings. Linear, same thing. That's what we decoded into. Output color space. I'm going to choose the working color space that I always use here on the channel and in my professional color grading practice, DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate. There's nothing particularly magical about it except that it's suited to the task of being a working color space. And because I always use it, I can get used to the way my grading controls feel in that space, and I can unify all of my different cameras into that common working space before they go out to display, which allows me to develop feel. It allows me to use tools that are designed for that working space and to operate in that image-centric mode that I was talking about a moment ago. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to set my tone mapping method to none, like so. Okay, we're making progress. We had an overly crunchy, overly burned image before. Now we got an overly flat image, but we're hooking into a pipeline. And now we really just need to finish out this pipeline with one more step. So this is the beginning. We're not going to do anything while the image is over in this linear state it was a moment ago. Everything that we do when we begin grading in just a moment is going to happen here, off to the right of this input transform. And now here at the timeline level, this 4th dot over from the right, we're going to do another color space transform. I'm going to use a shortcut that I have for this here in my power grades to take me from DaVinci Wide Gamut Intermediate to Rec 709 Gamma to 2 in this case. You can take my word for it. Trust me on that today, because we're all looking at this on YouTube. You are watching this almost certainly on a device which is Gamma 2.2, not Gamma 2.4. So for purposes of today's video, I'm setting this output to Gamma 2.2. If I was doing broadcast work, I would leave it at Gamma 2.4 or any kind of normal non-web delivery to broaden that out a little bit. Okay, we're making progress still. We now have a color managed image. It's still feeling rather flat, but that's now something we can tell is inherent to the scene. It's inherent to the image. It's not to do with our technical pipeline being wrong. The technical pipeline is now complete. And the one additional thing I want to do with my overall pipeline before I begin grading is I want to introduce a creative look. To do this, I'm going to use my look development plugin Contour. There's lots of different things you could use at this stage. You could use my free DaVinci Wide Gamut 2383 LUT. You could use my Fuji 3510 LUT. That one's free as well. You could use my Voyager LUTs, or you could use Contour, which is what I'm going to use right now. This is a custom look development plugin where if I wanted to, I could go in and really define all the dimensions of this look in great detail and control it with these 5 modules. For now, I'm feeling lazy. I've got a profile that I really like for this that I'm going to pull in and let that be my base. All right. So I've now got that in place. So we've now got our technical and our creative pipeline in place, and there's nothing left to do but to begin color grading. And we've set ourselves up for success in that color grade because we're grading the right state of image, we're grading the right quality of image, and we've got the right pipeline surrounding the grading state of image that we're about to tackle right now. So let's go back over here to the clip level. I'm going to grab my base node tree so that I can begin grading. And from here, I am fully in that image-centric mode that I described earlier. I am using the same node tree that I always use. I am going to use the same operations and the same order of operations that I always use. So first things first, let's set our exposure. I'm going to work my HDR global wheel. This is the only wheel within the HDR palette I use. I'm not going to use any of these others, but it's perfect for exposure because it's what's called photometric, meaning that it is accurate to the scene. It's the same thing as shutting down a lens or putting in D in front of the camera, right? And if I look at what I've got here, I'm pulling my stop by now about 1.6 stops, okay? That's starting to feel a little bit like something. Next, I want to work my contrast a little bit, which is the other role that my prime node plays here. And for this, I want to do some contrast pivot, and I want to pivot around the middle gray of my system. I've just set my pivot to 0.336, which I happen to have memorized is the middle gray point for DaVinci Intermediate, the color space that I'm working in right now. If you wonder how I know that, or you want to have a cheat sheet of what that mid-gray point is for some different spaces, go grab my mid-gray cheat sheet. It is a free resource that I'll leave a link to in the description for today's video so that you can have those things at the ready, and eventually you'll get to where you remember the ones that you use most often, and it allows you to do nifty things like I'm doing now, which is to apply a contrast operation which does not impart any change in exposure. Kind of cool. So if we do contrast here, I'm just going to start pushing some of that in, and we've now got an image that's really starting to come together, right? It's because we use the ideal process starting all the way from how are we going to get this ProRes RAW into a format that Resolve understands. Once we got it into that format, we pulled it in, we checked the right boxes, we set up the right pipeline. We're now grading within that pipeline using the same approach that I always use when I'm color grading. And I can treat this clip like any other clip, or this clip like any other clip, and work in that image-centric mode that I referred to a moment ago without having to any longer think about how this image came to be, whether it needed to be converted from ProRes RAW or whether it came from camera A or B. It no longer matters because I can grade like it's any other image once it's loaded into my node graph in the way that we've explored here today. So I hope this is a helpful workflow for you guys. Honestly, it took some doing for me to figure out what's going to be the most efficient, effective way to deal with ProRes RAW and get it into Resolve. But this is what I've landed on. I'm pretty happy with it. It scales really nicely. We only did 2 clips today, but whether you're doing 2 or 200, PlayPro Studio is going to quickly rip through all those clips and quickly and accurately convert them, retain that full quality for you, retain all that metadata for you, and then you can load it into Resolve, set things up in the way that I've shown you here today, and you're ready to go, and you can start using ProRes RAW quality material, ProRes RAW source material in the same way that you would any other material when you're grading.